Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the LiveFitNow Podcast. Thank you for joining us today. I can't wait for you to listen to today's conversation. It's a really interesting one, not only covering alopecia, but also generally autoimmune disease and how we all have the power to improve our lifestyles and have a happier, healthier quality of life. But before we head to the conversation, I would like to let you know that the LiveFitNow podcast is now on YouTube. So I'm putting all of the episodes so far onto YouTube, and then I will be releasing them weekly on YouTube the day after it's released on the podcast host. So it'll be Thursday for release and then Friday on YouTube. So if you have any friends or family that prefer YouTube, please let them know. So without further ado, let's head to today's conversation. My guest today is a health coach, founder of Alopecia Angels, speaker, author, and certified yoga and Pilates instructor. Following her own struggles with an autoimmune disease, she sought out a way of helping herself get better. Since then, she has dedicated herself to helping others with similar problems. Welcome to the LiveFitNow podcast, Johanna Dahlman. How are you today?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Can't wait for this conversation. So I would love to start with you sharing your story of how you've reached this point, your background and your experience with the autoimmune disease alopecia.
So alopecia started when I was in transition. I was living in Miami at the time, and I was moving to Denver. And during that transition, I already started seeing the signs of alopecia, not necessarily in the hair loss, but in the digestive issues, in the fatigue, in fear, and so many other emotions that are tied along with it. And then once I got to Denver, I went to a hair salon, and the lady, actually the hairstylist, she actually pointed it out to me. She didn't give it a name. She just, it was in the back of my head. So she just turned me around in the chair, showed me with a mirror, and it was a really small penny-size bald spot. And I had and I have lots of hair, and so I didn't think anything of it, and I'm very optimistic to begin with. So I figured, it's not a big deal. It'll grow back. 6 months later, that was like in November, by May, I went to my regular hairdresser back in California, who knows me since I'm 13, 14 years old. He knows my mom, knows my grandma, knows my whole family, has done everyone's hair in the family, actually. So because of this, he was looking through my hair and my scalp, and he's like, Johanna, you have alopecia. You need to go get this taken care of. And this was the first time I ever heard this word. It just muttered through his lips. So I'm in his chair, and I start Googling from my phone, like, what is alopecia? And of course, all of a sudden, all the tears start streaming down, and I'm getting frantic, and I'm getting like really scared of the possibilities. Normally what you read on Google, what you see in forums is a lot of doom and gloom. You see a lot of negativity surrounding alopecia. You see a lot of like, this is my destiny. Why me? You have a lot of this type of sentiment going on. And to me, it just didn't make sense. If I had hair my whole life, as an adult, as a child, as in every stage of life, why would I not have hair moving forward? It just didn't make sense to me. And so having the project management skills, being the solutions-oriented person that I am, I set out to create a solution to this. But prior to even thinking this way, because it is a mindset shift, prior to thinking this way, we're indoctrinated to believe and go straight to the doctors, right? When anything happens, even if your funny bone is like tingling too much, we want to go to the doctors and check this out. I know in California, at least, a lot of people are a little more on the paranoid side. Any little thing, they'll take their child to the doctor. Any little thing, and they're going to the doctor. So I went to the doctor. I saw doctors in California, in Colorado, and I was also in transition, moving to Europe at this time too. So I saw doctors in the Netherlands as well. And no one was really giving me any help. Only the doctors in California were really very proactive and pushy. They were aggressive in terms of, we got to do cortisone shots. You got to come every month, and it's got to be like this, and it's got to be like that. And they were just very aggressive, which is good, but you need to tame it. And so when I changed my mindset in terms of, okay, well, I'm hiring the doctors. I'm the one who's paying out of pocket, because at this point my health insurance was had finished in the US because I was moving to Europe. So I was paying for everything out of pocket. So I saw them essentially as service providers, right? I didn't see them as my regular GP, which was great, because then I actually saw like a strategic way on how to navigate that system. And then also, since I saw that they only had certain protocols limitations into what they could offer me, then I figured I need to do more research. The master's program that I had done years earlier kind of set me up to be able to do the research, the adequate research, not beyond Google, of what it was that I needed to really truly heal. And once I saw progress, then I knew I was onto something. And then once I fully healed, I was like, okay, the word needs to get out. People need to know that they don't need medications, that they can do this without pharmaceuticals. They can do this without waiting for a dermatologist. They can do this without waiting to see their GP, and they can take matters into their own hands. So after evaluating diet and lifestyle, making the necessary changes, as you can see today, my hair is completely back again, and I have no worries, because that's the other thing. Sometimes hair comes back, and then, people will say, well, what if it comes back again? Well, now I know how to mitigate it. I know exactly what happened, and I know exactly how to maintain a healthy lifestyle and a healthy diet so that this doesn't ever come back again. So this is essentially what I teach, and essentially how I help people. And the results have been remarkable. It's not just in me, it's not just in you, but in people such as clients who have alopecia totalis, where they were completely bald, or alopecia universalis, where they have no hair whatsoever on their body. So no eyelashes, no nose hair, no leg hair, no armpit hair, nothing. And they're able to see results and the beginnings of hair growth in 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. And so this is astonishing when they've been bald essentially for more than 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. So your body is never too late to heal. Your body is never too late to be supported. And it's never too late to get healthy. It's just up to you, up to each of us to put in the work, to take action, and to make it a priority. That's essentially what I've tried to tell people. And so, like I said, the results are amazing. And it's just a beautiful thing that I've been able to not just heal myself, but help others. Because that's, I think, the most satisfying and fulfilling part, is to be able to celebrate other people's success.
Yeah, it's really powerful, isn't it? I mean, it's incredible how quickly people can start to get growth back as well. Like 4 or 5 weeks it's such a short period of time, particularly when you've been suffering, with something for years. How long since you, when you were found out that you had it, to being completely well, how long did that take you? Because obviously you were researching and figuring out what to do.
Personally, it took me 2.5 years. It was a dedicated 10 to 12 hours a day, reading, researching. I made this my job. My job was to get me healed completely, because there was no possible way that you can work out, or do daily life, with this, big thing on your shoulders. It's much more than just the possibility of going bald. It's also those other symptoms that were along with it. And just like your computer needs to reset, my body needed a big reset. And even though I thought I was healthy, because at the time of these symptoms coming up, I was having a personal trainer, I was working out, I was probably in the fittest time of my life. And yet this still happened. And so this can happen to anybody. I see alopecia in children, I see alopecia in men and women, in people who are personal trainers, and people who are nutritionists. So alopecia can happen to anybody, regardless of what type of, label you have. No one's necessarily invincible.
No. And is there a reason this happens? Is it a random disease, or is there a catalogue of things that often happen to the people that suffer with it?
So in terms of alopecia, it's not random. So we all have cancer cells in our body, correct? And due to diet and lifestyle, we could actually promote it, or keep it asleep and at bay. And with alopecia, that's part of your DNA. So we all have certain DNA And in my case, alopecia erupted with this autoimmune disease. And thankfully it was alopecia, because what I've read about MS, multiple sclerosis, or rheumatoid arthritis, or diabetes, or lupus, or anything else, that seems much more complicated and much more debilitating. And so I'm very grateful it was just alopecia, even though just alopecia is like a bigger umbrella. But I'm very grateful that it was alopecia, not anything else. Yeah, I'm very grateful.
It really sounds like it's completely transformed your life. So what was your life like before you you had this? And then how did you transition into doing what you do today?
Oh, very much different. So before alopecia, I was working for top companies, doing event planning and project management. So at the time where all this transition happened, I had just left Apple, and I was in their Miami office and head of Latin America, and transitioned to another company. And that company and us, we transitioned again. And then I was moving, and then I moved again within 12 months. So within 12 months, I changed jobs twice, and I also moved twice. So from Miami to Denver, and from Denver to the Netherlands. So there was a lot of transition going on, and it was by myself, essentially. I was by myself. I had to do everything by myself. And due to this, there was a lot of stress. There was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of everything. And, you know, some people think that the diet and lifestyle that I had was super healthy. But at the same time, I look back and I see where there was cracks, and I see where things were not perfect. And even focusing back, because I don't think alopecia happened through just one little time frame. I think it's an accumulation of things. So what I like to say to clients is that alopecia is a puzzle, and you have to put all the pieces together. And through this, part of that puzzle piece, one of the puzzle pieces is your past. Whether you're 5 years old and you're looking at the past, or whether you're 35 or 85 and you're looking at the past. And so if I were to look back at the time where I was in my mother's stomach while she was pregnant, all the way to, you know, when I was able to feed myself and, you know, live on my own and this type of thing, I can see a lot of cracks. I can see a lot of areas where I could have improved, and where no one was really telling me or talking to me about this. No one really taught me nutrition. No one taught me stress management. No one taught me many things that I had to learn over those 2.5 years of healing all by myself. Because when you eat something, it's also very different when you have an autoimmune disease, or even now, post-autoimmune, post-alopecia. I know I still have that DNA in me, and I know it could potentially erupt, but now I have to behave and have to change my diet and lifestyle so that it doesn't come back, so that I can live to my fullest without having to hinder my health. And really, that's the big takeaway. That's the biggest takeaway, is to learn how to do better for your body, so that you don't have to worry about disease or alopecia ever coming back.
Yeah, that sounds great. And in regard to, you know, obviously you're saying your diet and your nutrition and your exercise is already quite good. Are they the main areas you focused on, or did you actually start by looking at the stresses, perhaps the loneliness of being sort of by yourself? Where did you start? What were your keys, I guess?
What I like to say to clients is that everyone has their river, this river that flows through their body, and that, you know, feeds us and gives us nutrients that we need. And in that river, we can have certain logs that dam up the river and create blockages, and those blockages will create disease. Now, everyone has their own logs and their own size logs. So the size of my logs can be different from yours, but we all have these logs. And so mine, I know for a fact, was stress. I know that was one of my biggest logs. I know creating boundaries was very useful for me. I know putting into practice, you know, the thing is, in my case in particular, the diet piece. So for example, even though I was very healthy and very diet conscious, maybe from, let's say, 26 to 35, especially around 30 to 35, that still doesn't negate the first 30 years of my life. You know, and so when people think, well, I do this and I do that, and, I'm healthy. Sure. For how long? Have you been doing this for 5-10 years? That's great. But that still doesn't negate the last 50 or the last 20 or the last, 15. Yeah. And so this is the other thing. You have to balance out everything we've done and haven't done. So even though in my mid-30s, when I got alopecia, I was super healthy and at my top fittest, that still doesn't negate all the other stuff, all the party, all the fast food, all the, all this other stuff that's part of the standard American diet to what led me to today. It was just part of it. So it's a rain barrel effect where you accumulate toxins, you accumulate, bad habits, so you accumulate bad things. And so then little by little, you need to tweak everything and then you're able to heal. And I think it's really important to focus on the healing because again, you don't want to wait around for a second or a third possibility of a second or a third autoimmune disease.
Yeah, so true. And how do you work with clients? Is it generally on a one-to-one basis? Do you do it in person, online? Do you tell them what to do or do you show them what they can choose to do?
Good question. So I have 2 programs. One is the signature program, which is 2 months, and it's everything you need week by week to heal and reverse alopecia. I give you all the tools, all the techniques. So everything in terms of knowledge, in terms of strategy, I've developed, then I give it to you. And because you have alopecia or because you're going through an autoimmune disease, more than likely you get overwhelmed quickly. More than likely your fatigue, your concentration, your brain fog, you're not at 100%, right? You're working on a 45%. And so I break this down over 2 months. And this is where I'm able to see changes in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th week, because I'm following you along and you are following me. And then we hold each other accountable and I help you. We have coaching that's included. And I just launched a new program, which is Alopecia and Pre-Pregnancy Program. Because the main reason why I chose to go natural and holistic is because I want to make sure that none of the medicines that I was taking or none of the options of medicine would hurt my fertility or hurt my possibility of having a healthy baby or even affect my future baby or future children. And so due to that, I see that there's just such a need because 80% of people who have alopecia are women. So, I mean, we need to make sure that the moms are healthy to give this baby the best start in life possible. And that goes with all the knowledge that I bring to the table and that you learn. That's also a 2-month program. And so you could heal your alopecia and prepare for pregnancy and conception all in one. So, which is very nice because this way you don't have to do, 2 separate programs or anything. It's like an all in one. But I think this is very, very, very delicate because at the same time, no one talks about fertility. No one talks about, you can be 25 years old, 35, or even 45 and think that it's going to be easy or think it's going to be hard. And lo and behold, the diet and lifestyle piece are also very necessary for fertility. It's also very necessary for an easy conception. It's also very necessary for, for having a healthy baby. You can't just, think that drinking beer and having your potato chips is okay for a healthy baby. Like so we need a supplement and we need to ensure that, that your body is at top form.
Yeah. And so interestingly, I was thinking as you were talking through that, so I'm guessing you can happily work potentially with anybody. They don't necessarily need to have an autoimmune disease because in principle, I guess you're helping people be as healthy and happy as they can be. And therefore that applies to anybody, whether you currently have any issues or not.
Correct. I actually have more and more clients come to me. They join the signature program and they don't have alopecia. They have joint pain, they have eczema, they have psoriasis, they have other ailments outside of alopecia completely. And many times the parents who do the program for their child who's let's say under 18 years old, and the parents themselves have ailments, they support the child by doing the program as well. And the whole family does, actually. And they see their symptoms and their ailments go away along with the child's alopecia. So it's like everyone wins, whether you have eczema, whether you have psoriasis. I have a client right now in my signature program. She's had joint pain all over for over 5 years. And she's been really addicted to these over-the-counter medicines, headache medicine, this type of, regular pain relief medicine. And through the diet alone, in 2 weeks, all her joint pain went away. Just diet.
Isn't it?
I mean,
incredible.
This is the beauty of diet, that we can choose every day with our forks, with our spoons, how we want to promote health, how we want to live. Do you want to thrive? Do you want to flourish? Or do you want to stay in this mediocre state?
Do you think most people are numb to their own bodies, their own feelings, and perhaps don't even realize how below par they're feeling?
Yes, I also think a lot of it is denial. I think a lot of it is denial in terms of, oh, I don't think diet and lifestyle can help me. Nothing can help me. Woe is me. This type of mindset, right? This client who signed up for my program for the joint pain, she didn't sign up for joint pain. She signed up for weight loss. She signed up because she thought that she was going to lose weight, which she has. She's already lost 5 pounds in a week and a half. But she didn't realize that the joint pain would go away with just a tweak of the diet part. And so these are wonderful ways in which at least you're open-minded. She was open-minded just for the diet portion of it. And she saw all these, and she continues to see all these ripple effects. And it's because it's a chain reaction. Our body is all connected. And so once we start healing in one area, guess what? The weight's going to come off. The pain is going to go away. The brain fog, everything's going to lift. And just like you have more symptoms with alopecia, and it's much more than hair loss, all those other symptoms, the depression, the anxiety, everything else lifts. And it's beautiful once it's kind of like, it's me again. Because at one point I was looking at myself in the mirror beyond the hair loss, but the symptoms I was feeling, the brain fog, the fatigue, was unlike me, completely unlike me. I'm extremely energetic, extremely just on the go all the time. And you couldn't get me out of bed. You couldn't get me, like, making lunch was a big task for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, I completely remember a few years back when I had severe fatigue, and I was trying to sit, and it seemed so ridiculous, but genuinely sitting was exhausting. Yeah. And I think if you've never felt like it, it sounds so silly, but I know that so many people that have fatigue linked with whatever their issues might be, it's so debilitating. And I think if you've not experienced it, it might seem like you're just being lazy, or you can't be bothered, or go to sleep, but that's just not how it works, because you get so exhausted that literally anything, even nothing, is an effort. And I think once you reach that point, you look to figure out a way of getting out of it, because you just can't accept that being normal anymore.
It's true. It's a new normal. And many times we don't even know what a healthy bowel movement looks like, or even, that we're constipated. And sometimes I talk to people and they're like, oh yeah, I go to the restroom maybe once every 2-3 days. And I'm just like, what? 2-3 days? And they don't even know. No one's talking about this. This is the unfortunate thing. No one's talking about this. No one's training us. Our parents for sure did not do this job. Teachers don't do this job. And so we're left up to the healthcare system, which is also not doing this job. And so you're left up to yourself. And so, yes, you need to empower yourself. And yes, you need to advocate for yourself in every way. But it's also knowing that there's much more out there than just your label of disease, that there's much more out there and possibilities than just the doom and gloom that you see on the internet that people are posting about, or people are talking about, because there are alternatives. I believe there's an option for everything. And I love a good buffet where you can pick what you want. And, I didn't want the creams. I didn't want the cortisone shots. And in hindsight, the struggle was definitely longer, 2.5 years. I'm sure many people would be very impatient with that. I got frustrated with the process too. but it's what I needed. It's what I needed to really hone in on every little item so that I could get true healing, not just a Band-Aid healing, because I think the injections and the pills and the creams are all Band-Aids. It's just covering something up, that there's always something underlying there that we really need to look into.
Yeah, without doubt. I think medical care, as wonderful a job as it does, as you say, it is like a Band-Aid. They're just trying to deal with the symptoms you've got rather than looking at the root cause. And that takes time. And I think that is the thing they lack. They lack the time to actually be able to do that. But that is why we're so lucky that we are, if we empower ourselves, able to do that by ourselves. And it's interesting you were bringing those for like bowel movements and things like that. They just seem to be taboo subjects, things that people don't talk about. But it's just crazy, isn't it, that things that happen to every single one of us, all of us have to go through these things, yet we don't talk about it. For myself, if I had been more open and talking about those things, I would have probably been diagnosed a year, if not 2 years earlier.
Exactly.
But I don't know even what it is, whether it's a shame or embarrassment or it's just an awkwardness. It's not something to discuss. And luckily, I think the development in researching gut health and mind-gut connection and all, the microbiome is helping, because there is a lot more mainstream and media coverage of the importance of our gut health. Perhaps partly due to how many more people are having gut issues. But we really have to keep pushing through, I think, to actually talk about all of our problems, not just the things that seem okay to talk about. And what kid doesn't like to talk about poo? I mean, it's not a subject that kids are embarrassed about, but at some point it shuts off, and it's something we don't discuss. And it covers so many different areas of our health, I think. And I guess it has to start at that young age and then filter throughout life, because these are, our daily habits and effects. And if we don't talk to others, we don't necessarily realize that it's not right, and something might need to be looked at.
Exactly. And so, I mean, even in my own case, I remember clearly as a child, I didn't have daily bowel movements. I was definitely more constipated, but no one was checking up on me. No one was checking up how often I went. But now as an adult, as I know what's healthy, I know that something was wrong early on. And yeah, I mean, reabsorbing those toxins, not having clean bowel movements all the time, that's an issue. That's an issue, and that's a disconnect too. That's a disconnect with schools, with parents, with everything. And so this is why I believe this program, the signature program, sets people up not just for their own healing, but for healing of their loved ones, and being able to tweak and modify even before an autoimmune disease or any other disease comes about. And so spreading the word, spreading the knowledge, and getting everybody involved is so important, because then we all learn, we all, all the boats, rise.
Exactly. And you've got the support system there as well then, haven't you? Because when you're trying to make changes, and if you're the only person within your social connections, I think it can be so much more challenging. But if you can encourage them to take part as well and realize, oh, we could do that and feel better too, and that all makes it easier to build, as you say, build everyone up. An interesting thing I was thinking about is, do you find that people are resistant to any particular areas of your program? Because I guess sometimes people will come to you and they have a vague idea that certain things might be touched upon, as you say, such as food and sleep perhaps. But are there any areas that they maybe either aren't expecting or that people find most difficult to deal with?
I think the adults are very good about following the program. Granted, we all have weak spots, right? Whether that's food, whether that's a certain lifestyle, or trying to put in more effort into one area or the other. I think the hardest part would probably be with children. Depending on the age of the children, I think this might be a little challenging because, for example, I had a client who we had a coaching call the other day, and their child is 5 years old, but they've been feeding this child processed food for all 5 years of this child's life, that to get them away from processed foods is a challenge, is a huge challenge. And so undoing these habits is very difficult with a 5-year-old, right? Because you're dealing with a 5-year-old. Now, granted, When you have a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old, it's a little easier, and they're starting to be more mature, and they're starting to understand, look, I don't want to be bullied. I don't want to be picked on. I don't want to feel different. I just want my hair. I just want my health. They realize it. And so this last time I had a 10-year-old in my program, and she did fabulous. In 4 weeks, she started growing her hair, and she had hair loss all around the sides. And essentially she only had like one big strip of hair on top, which would cover the sides that were all bald underneath. And so in 4 weeks, she started seeing the hair growth, the hair loss subsided, and she started seeing progress. But hair as well takes time. It's not overnight. And, you have this big mane. It's, it has a phase. And so I would have to say, not with adults so much, sure, you have cravings, but you're able to have those cravings mitigated. And with the diet changes, those cravings go away. Hormones level play out, your mood stabilize, everything stabilizes, which is a beautiful thing, because even they realize it. They're like, oh, I'm not so angry anymore. Oh, I'm not shouting at my spouse anymore. So once the food is there and the diet's tweaked in 2 weeks, they start to see a difference in their mood, in their hormones, in their levels, that everything stabilizes. And in children, again, that's a little different, because you have the birthday parties where they're serving pizza and cupcakes. You have the outings to grandma's house, and grandma just wants to feed them junk food and give them candy and this type of thing. So I think with children, it's depending, on every family, it can be a little challenging. And I think, as adults, as we get older, we understand that it's for my health. And what I like to drive home, that it's not just for your health now, but it's for your health in the future, for men and for women. I've actually started talking more and more about fertility, even in men, because there's a lot of things that affect fertility for both sexes, and no one's talking about. This is not open discussion anywhere. And a lot of times we think we're doing that, certain things are not harming us, and yet they are. We think that life is okay, having EMFs and microwaves and this and that, and it's not necessarily a healthy thing. It's convenient. It's, getting you, on the latest technology, but it's not necessarily all super healthy.
Yeah, I think that fundamentally is our biggest challenge, actually, because our society has normalized so many things that actually really aren't very good for us. And are you like 100% to zero kind of person? Do you encourage people to remove all of particular things from their diet and incorporate other things? Or do you believe there's a balance that can be had? Like, what's your standpoint on it?
I think for my protocol to work, you need to give me at least a month, at least 1 month of following what I say in terms of diet and behaving. Like 1 month is easy. You've already had so many years behind you of doing whatever you wanted. Clearly that wasn't working. So give me 1 month and I can show you change. Once people start to see the seeds and, the fruit grow, whether that's on their head or the changes in their body, then they're like more motivated to keep going. So this is kind of what I say, especially for those who are on the fence of, do I really have to change diet and lifestyle? Like they know they should, but something in them is like, do I really? And so when I show them the data, when I show them the research, when I show them all the benefits, then they're on board, even reluctantly, but they're on board, because alopecia sets them back in terms of doing the things that they want to do. Yeah. For example, I have a client right now and it sets him back in terms of dating. He can't date. He's so preoccupied with his alopecia that he can't live normally, whether that's dating life and relationships, meeting women, whether that's with work, because he's so preoccupied with his alopecia that he's always late to work. He feels so depressed and anxious about it. And it's just kind of like this vicious cycle. Because like I said, it's much more than hair loss. It affects you on many levels. And so because of this, it's affecting his work. It's affecting his dating. And he's feeling very, very insufficient, as a man, as a person, as a human. And so he wants to date and fall in love like everybody. He wants to, have a good job and do better at his career. But it's because of these other things that are holding him back. Part of that's mindset. Part of that is actually seeing that you can heal. And so once he does, once I yank him towards me, right? Sometimes I have to hold him by the hand, and sometimes I have to yank you closer to me. Then I'm able to help you more. So I see the qualities and the characteristics in each of my clients. And this is why it's very tailored. You know, with some of them who are type A, they're like soldiers. They're like soldiers. I tell them what to do and they got it and they take off and run. Other ones, you know, they need a little hold handy. They need a little more coddling. And then other ones need a strong, you know, a stronger discipline, and they need more encouragement. They need more, a bigger push.
Absolutely. That's where the coaching skills really kick in, isn't it? And it's so much about quality of life. And I've discussed this with a few people recently, actually. I almost think there's nothing made easy about having and being healthy these days, because everything in society is geared towards all the tempting things that aren't really, even the things that seem to be trying to help you be healthier, quite often not quite as good as they may seem. And I think that in itself, the amount of effort that we have to put in is really difficult. And often I think that's why people that have experienced a lower quality of life are willing to make those sacrifices, because actually it ends up not being a sacrifice, because you've got your quality of life back. And I think quite often it's a tipping point. And once you've passed that tipping point, you have to make changes. Whereas I think a lot of people are just about there. They're kind of always on the cusp, because actually they're nowhere near the quality of life they could be getting, but it's not quite bad enough to make yourself make changes, because you really have to commit to it. And as you just mentioned a moment ago, it comes down to mindset so much, I think, because it's all controlled up there, isn't it?
Well, I find that, you know, in this last program that I had, and there was this one client in particular, she was on board. She wanted the change, but she was still down on herself about it. So this was week 1. And week 1, I understand there's concern, there's like trying to understand and see what's possible, what they can do, especially during Corona, you know, where everything is a little more limited. And then by week 8, I couldn't even recognize her. We had a coaching call, and she was giddy. She was giggling. She was happy. It sounded like she was skipping like a 12-year-old. It was amazing, the joy that I heard in her voice. And it was just incredible. She's like, Johanna, I've been universalis for over 5-10 years. And I not only have hair growing on my head, but I have it on my arms, my armpits, my legs. Now I have to shave. I haven't shaved in so long, and I have to like do this. And she's like not complaining, but she's like happy to do this. She's happy to shave. She's happy to get this hair back. And it went from like probably disbelief to I'm over the moon, and I can't believe like I was able to do this, which is a huge feat.
It's incredible. You must love your job. It's a great feeling to be able to help people in that way, isn't it?
I do. And I find myself, you know, sometimes working 9-10 hours a day, and I'm like, okay, wait, you haven't even stepped outside the apartment. You need to get some air. You need to do some self-care yourself. You need to put into action what you tell your clients. So, but this is a good thing, because I always want to be there for them. I always want to respond quickly to emails. And I still have that corporate side of me in me, you know, where you would receive an email and the client was like, you know, I want a response in less than 12 hours type of thing. And so this is how I am, even with my clients now. So I guess you know, how I see it is that life has just trained me to be, I guess, as good as I am now for my clients today, which is even better, because I think that's what that is. Life is just lots of steps and lots of lessons, and it's up to you to put them together and figure out, okay, what do I do with this information? What do I do with these lessons? Is it time for me to write a book? Is it time for me to, I don't know, to create a podcast? Is it time for me to create programs? Like, where should I put my energies? And so I find it so fulfilling in the ability to help people, reassure people and families and parents that this is possible, that this can be reversed. and that they're taking the right step and not wanting to go the conventional medicine route, that they're doing the right thing. They really are, because that's what we need. The thing is, it's like, if you were to do the conventional medicine route and then something else comes along, then what does that mean? Does that mean you need more medicine, different types of medicine? And it's a never ending cycle. I know somebody with diabetes, and even though this person knows that they need to change diet and lifestyle, they prefer to live the way they want. They prefer to eat the things that they want. And they're okay taking, 10, 16 different medicines, pills a day, just to, plus the insulin shots to the stomach, plus, just to mitigate their disease, when really we can reverse this. Yeah. And it just takes a little discipline. It just takes a little, encouragement.
It's just deciding, isn't it?
It is.
I think, as we discussed earlier, we both decided that we weren't quite happy with accepting the medication that we were expected to continue taking, probably indefinitely. So you start looking, you get curious. And I guess some people do that, and then other people don't want to. They don't want to accept it or acknowledge it, or they see the medication as the easy route. I'm not sure, but it just comes down to that one decision, I think, quite often, as much as it can go up and down afterwards as to how challenging and easy it is. I do just think it can be that light bulb moment. You just flick the switch and decide which point you're gonna go down.
Absolutely. And many times we're in a situation we think we can't get out, whether that's a bad relationship, a bad job, or a bad living arrangement, or even a house filled with mold. We think that we can't get out of the situation. And trust me, there's always a way. Like, there's a plan B, there's a plan C, there's a plan D. I truly believe there's always a way. And sometimes it is taking that leap of faith. Sometimes it is advocating for yourself in order to protect yourself, because that's what we're here for. We're here to protect ourselves, advocate for ourselves, and do what's best for us. And then, of course, help others as well. But you can't give from an empty cup. You can't give when you have nothing to give for yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I had a question, actually, looking at your qualifications, etc. With the yoga and Pilates, was that something you did previously, or was that something that you have developed since?
So with Pilates, I was actually introduced to Pilates back when I was 22, 23, and I loved it. I fell in love with it, absolutely loved it, and just started doing it 3-4 times a week on a regular basis. And I got so inspired because I saw women in their 60s and their 70s that could hold a plank longer than I could at 22, 23. They were so much stronger than I was. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the elixir of youth. These women are just such badasses. And I was just like, I want to grow up to be just like them. So I continued on my Pilates route. And then I slowly incorporated yoga. In Miami, when I lived there, the yoga was very spiritual. And that allowed me to meditate. That allowed me to do many more things. I went into the woo, so to speak. I started learning more about chakras. I started learning more about Reiki. I started doing sound baths. And I loved yoga for that spiritual side of things. And I know not every yoga studio is this way, but the yoga in Miami was just spiritual. It was a beautiful family, and it was very enriching on so many levels. And so also very challenging, because Miami's already hot to begin with all year round. And so in the studio, it was jam-packed like sardines, and you're sweating, and it's like hotter inside the studio than it is outside. It was great. It was a wonderful sweat. And so I missed that. I missed the community. And when I came here to the Netherlands, I started with yoga more. I got certified in Greece just to take my yoga to the next level. And then in Pilates, I got certified here as well, in Amsterdam, actually. And I've been working at a yoga studio ever since I moved here. And I love teaching. I love the community. So I've moved a lot around in my life. I've lived in Brazil. I've lived in Argentina, Florida, Texas, California, Colorado, Netherlands. So I've moved around a lot. And whether that was for school, for study abroad, or for love or for work, you have to renew yourself each time, start over with friends, start over with a school, start over with a tribe, start over with a community. And so my easy entry into making friends was people who were like-minded, people who were into Pilates, people who were into yoga. So the first thing I normally do when I move is to look for a yoga studio or look for a Pilates studio. And then from there, I meet people who are like-minded, people who are into fitness, who are into health and wellness. And that's kind of where I find my tribe. And it hasn't let me down. Miami, that was perfect. In Colorado, that was nice. And in the Netherlands, it's helped a lot as well. So it's something that's developed even more, taking it always to the next level. So yeah.
You never stop growing and learning with it. That's the amazing thing, isn't it?
And I think that's what's needed. That's what's needed. The way we did things 50, 60 years ago is not the same way we do things now, in terms of technology, in terms of how we raise kids, in terms of how we even grow our own foods, the production, the agriculture, the process, the GMOs, et cetera, et cetera. It's not the same way. And so what makes the food pyramid the same? What makes one diet better than the other? It's because everything has changed and we need to change too. And not everything is catching up at the same time. And so this is where we see the uptick of disease. This is where we see the uptick of autoimmune, of autism. It's only now recently in the last 20 years where we see an uptick in autoimmune, C-sections, and autism in the US, an uptick in heart disease, an uptick in cancers. Why is this? Something's changed.
Yeah.
It's not really being publicly announced, and nothing's happening to mitigate it or to make it better. So this is why we really have to advocate for ourselves, because if our government and our schools aren't doing the job, then the job needs to start at home.
Yeah,
we need to
start from the ground up.
Absolutely. We need to teach our children nutrition. We need to teach our children stress management. We need to teach our children so many of these different pillars that they're going to need, not just now, but for later on in life.
Without doubt, I couldn't agree with you more. And when you work with people, how do you encourage people to measure? Do you encourage journaling, diary keeping, just thinking?
So journaling is huge in terms of keeping track of bowel movements, keeping track of what you're eating, keeping track of how you feel. I think writing things down is really neat because you could always look back. It's a documented source of how you felt, and should you diverge on a different path after the program or 6 months or 9 months later, then you know how to get back. Like no sheep is ever lost, right? You could always get back.
Exactly. So I think sometimes you can get lost as well. Sometimes you can think things are worse than they are, because particularly if you're not feeling so good, it can feel like it's gone on forever. But actually, when you can look back and see, okay, no, we did have a good phase not that long ago. We can do it. If we were doing that, then we can make some changes and get back to it. It can keep you positive as well, I think.
Absolutely. And this is also a key takeaway for what I teach in my programs is I also teach how to mitigate alopecia, how to never have it come back, and those bullet points of what you need to do to make sure that everything is checked off so that, again, alopecia doesn't come back, you don't have these vicious cycles, and your health just keeps skyrocketing up.
Yeah, it sounds great. Actually, I'm not sure if there are any, but I'm going to ask you the question. You can tell me. Are there any common myths linked to your field that you would like to debunk?
Yes, actually, there's 8 of them.
Oh, excellent.
I actually wrote a blog post on this. This is fantastic. I think one of the biggest myths is that we cannot cure alopecia. So, for example, everyone likes to say and tout that there's no cure for alopecia. And I think that's a huge myth, because we can reverse it and we can put it to sleep, just like a cold. Just because you got a cold or the flu today doesn't mean you're going to have the cold and flu forever. Same with alopecia, same even with cancer. Sure, I have the cancer cells in me, but again, the diet and the lifestyle will either promote it or, squash it. And so in terms of alopecia, that's one of the biggest myths, that you can't cure it, that there's no cure for it. And they say that only because there's no one pill, one medicine, one elixir that will help heal everybody. And that's just it. It's not one size fits all. And this is why the program has a tailored component of the coaching. because this way I can see your blind spots and your pitfalls and have you tweak those in particular, because your situation is going to be different to, the child who has alopecia at 10 years old, to the, 45-year-old lady who is a personal trainer, or to the 50-year-old man who, has other issues. So everyone is different. So there's a tailored approach within the program. And this is key because we all have different blind spots, right? Not every Olympian works and functions the same way. Even in different sports, the way you train your body is so different versus basketball and football. So you have to account for all that. And so this is one of the biggest myths, that there's no cure, because you're seeing the results right here. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't accept what
you're part of the results as well.
Yeah, exactly. Once you've had the experience, that's why you get the bug to have to pass it on to other people.
Yes.
I'll have to pop a link, actually. You'll have to send me a link to that blog, and I can pop that in the show notes.
Absolutely. I'd love to. Yeah, because these 8 myths go through a lot of them. And I think it's very eye-opening to see a different perspective. Because again, all you read about is just like, no cure, no help, no cure, doom and gloom. And this doesn't do anybody any good. Like, this is awful advice. Whoever's reading this, whoever's spreading that, fake news.
Yeah, it's not doing any good, is it? And as much as you have to get yourself into a positive spiral rather than a negative spiral. And I think if you read particularly people that are potentially considered experts saying only bad things or negative things, it's not going to give you that hope. And I think actually that's the start. That first step is just to have the hope that you can get better, and then you can keep investigating and trying different things to get better. Yep,
100%. No, just like that one quote from Henry Ford, whether you think you can or you can't, you are correct.
Yeah, it's a great quote.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like that. What else? This is quite a broad question, and it may be more business focused or life focused, or I feel like they may actually merge together. What inspires you?
Inspired me in what sense?
What inspires you day to day in your life?
Day to day. What inspires me? I think uplifting people inspires me. Uplifting people and knowing that it could be a small action. It could be a compliment that I give somebody at the grocery store. It could be a smile that I give somebody, as I'm walking by them. It can be, something so small. I remember, so prior to Corona, in supermarkets here in the Netherlands, they have like little tables where you can congregate and have coffee. They give you like free coffee at a free coffee machine. So me and my husband were there, and it was right around Christmas time, and there was a husband and wife sitting there too. The husband was reading the paper, because it's kind of like a bookstore almost meets the supermarket. And so they have a stand of newspapers and magazines, and so you're able to pick them and start looking through them, and then if you want, you buy them, and if not, you just leave them there. And so the wife was kind of like looking around and like twiddling her thumbs essentially, and the husband was reading the newspaper. So I had like a little chocolate in front of me, and I gave it to her. And, it like brightened her day. She went from like waiting for her husband to finish reading the paper to like, oh, I got a surprise, And so any little thing you can do, I think this is what the world needs more of. I think we need to be more kind and compassionate to each other, and more kind of aware of others. And I think this is also the disconnect on what we have with our own bodies, that we're so focused, whether that's work or picking up the kids or getting this task done or doing other things in life, that we forget to eat, we forget to hydrate, we forget to sleep, we forget to hear the signals of our body. We could be dead tired at 3 p.m. and what do? We get coffee, instead of taking a nap. We do things without listening to our body, ignoring our body completely. And this is where we come back to disease, where it's at some point it's going to give up. But at the same time, it also makes you very aware or unaware of your surroundings. And so I loved noticing the lady who was next to me. And you notice this also in the US a lot, when people are on the go and just busy and high stress. Coming from LA, where I'm from, I notice this a lot, with parking spots. People are always fighting for parking spots. People are always, it's like the holidays, and they're just more on edge, instead of having like a cheery sense to them in a calm, relaxed way, everyone's like on edge because they need to get presents, because they need to, do the errands, they need to do this, they need to do that. And instead of kind of enjoying it, taking it slow, taking it at a slower pace. And so, yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's
a different way of life.
So much disconnect, isn't there? There's so much disconnect, and we really do need to reconnect with ourselves, with others, with people around us, because it is so powerful, and kindness helps others and it helps ourselves. And it can be in such small, simple things like your story. It doesn't have to be big. It can, like you say, it can be a smile. It can just be saying hello to somebody, and it can just put them on an upward trajectory rather than carrying on in their own bubble.
I love to compliment people genuinely, of course, right? But at the same time, I don't think enough people compliment each other. And I notice that women don't compliment other women. It's normally from a man who, to the woman. Yeah. I think women to women, they don't compliment each other. And so I like to compliment women so much more. I guess because now as I get older, you notice that everyone is dealing with something that maybe they're not talking about. They're dealing with an illness, they're dealing with a loved one, they're dealing with some sort of challenge in their life. And I have more empathy, I have more compassion for people.
Yeah, we need to stop being competitive and actually build each other up, because it's so much more powerful for all of us, isn't it? What's your vision for your business? Do you have your mind on some big goals?
That's a wonderful idea. I just hired my assistant. So I'm ramping her up. I want her to take on more things. And so getting the help allows me more time to be more creative in terms of content, in terms of really hearing what it is that my clients need. So this is where the birthing of this pre-pregnancy program with alopecia stemmed from, because I noticed that people were in my same shoes and, they want to do both at the same time. So I want to listen more. I want to get more feedback and see what other areas of alopecia that I can develop to help them more. That it all stemmed with one book. And then someone suggested I write a cookbook. So I wrote the cookbook. And then someone suggested I do a weekly planner. And then I did that. And then I noticed that people were not getting as good results as I would want them to with the book alone. And so then I realized, okay, they need a group coaching program where I can hold their hand week by week, so that they're not kind of A, being overwhelmed, and B, not setting themselves back. And so they have someone to guide them step by step. If they have any questions, they'll ask me before they do it. And so they feel more safe and secure. And I think this is part of the program. So I try to listen where possible and then implement new strategies. Yeah. So the sky's the limit. And I just want to reach as many people as possible, because they can literally, you're diagnosed, like, bring it to me. Like, I can take care of this quickly. So you don't have to struggle 2.5 years or 10 years or 40 years. Like some people have told me that they struggled for, which is awful. You shouldn't have to struggle for that long.
No, absolutely not. Particularly when it can be changed so quickly. I guess you just need to get your name out there in front of as many people, so that if anything comes up, they know exactly where to come.
Exactly. This is why I'm doing this podcast. So thank you.
It all helps, doesn't it? And just sort of starting to bring it to a close, I would like to give you the floor. And if there is one thing that you think everyone would benefit from knowing, what would that be?
That there's more options than what you're getting at the doctor's office. That there's other options to healing. Not just healing alopecia, but to healing any disease, healing cancer, healing diabetes, healing, OCD, healing autism. There's so many other alternative routes. And just because you said, I've tried it all, I've done it all, keep trying. Keep looking forward to that. When I started my health journey, it was beyond conventional medicine. It was Ayurveda. It was traditional Chinese medicine. It was feng shui. It was anything and everything, including chakras, including like all the woo-woo stuff and crystals, but also the other things. I attended conferences. I attended groups. I mean, I truly did everything, but I also got the results, and so this is why I even have a blog post on this where it says, you've tried everything, but you really haven't, because you haven't. There's so much more that you could be doing. And maybe you have tried everything, and maybe you know everything, but you also have a blind spot. And that's where else I also come into the mix there, because I can see your blind spots. And so with one coaching session, we can go over your history, we can go over everything, and I can see, oh, this is it. Oh, this is that. How is it that tweaking? So this personal trainer, she was really gung-ho, type A, 46 years old, in amazing shape, like abs to kill. Like she looks like a fitness model with 3 kids. So she's beautiful inside and out. And she was having hair loss. She's in my program, and I saw, just through looking at her diet of 2 days, I tweaked it. And in 2 weeks, the hair loss stopped shedding. In 19 days, her hair growth started. She already started seeing baby hairs come out. But then beyond that, in 5 days, her energy levels have already boosted, and her brain fog had already lifted. And so, it's a step-by-step program, right? In 5 days, she already saw results. In 2 weeks, she saw another result. And in 19 days, she's not even done with the 2 months. In 19 days, she already saw the hair growth. So she was a personal trainer and extreme physical fit, but she also, had blind spots. So we're human.
Yeah.
This happens.
Exactly. And I think that's a really powerful example as well, because as you say, it's someone that's already, anyone from the outside would be like, that's a really healthy person.
Yep.
And I'm sure in many ways that she was, but even she managed to have incredible results in a very short period of time. I can only imagine how big the results of people that have a very unhealthy lifestyle have, because that must be so mind-blowing for them.
It is. It's an adjustment, but they love the results. And so that's why they keep with it. They're like, this is it. Like, why would you want to ever go back?
Yeah, I love it. And if my listeners would like to get in touch with you, where is the best place to find you on the internet? And I will pop it all into the show notes.
Thank you so much. AlopeciaAngel.com. I'm also on Instagram at Alopecia Angel, Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube as well. And I would love to offer your listeners a free 15-20 minute phone consultation. So they can email me directly from the website, and I'm happy to give them the link to that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Again, I'll pop all of that in the show notes so people can just click straight through. Thank you so much for your time today. I have no doubt that people are going to love this conversation. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much. You've been so lovely, and this has been such a delight. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening to episode 15 of the LiveFitNow podcast. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. I would absolutely love to hear your feedback, so please do get in touch and let me know your thoughts. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, through the website, or you can drop me an email, hello@livefitnow.co.uk. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel so every Thursday the new episode will pop up, and it would be so wonderful if you could share with your family and friends the podcast wherever they may listen. Thanks again, until next week.